Yeah, I get a lot of comments on that, actually.
What just happened to my camera?
Oh, you got a notification.
Nah.
I think it's still recording, though. You see the blinking red light. So we're using, for those of you who are listening just on audio, we are using Will's phone to record video, which will be released later. Oh. This will be raw and uncut, so unless there's something really bad, I'm probably not going to edit it
Uncircumcised.
out. Uncircumcised video. Uncircumcised heathens.
The Philistines.
You want
Philistines.
I never got into South Park, but back to...
That was the title of one of the films.
Uncircumcised Philistines?
Uncut and Uncircumcised. Or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I didn't see it. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Vegeta's Pride. So then, Goku dies, saving the world, and Goku's son, Gohan, defeats the bad guy, stripping Vegeta, this royal prince who was supposed to be the savior of his people, from the opportunity to save his people. Right? What's so funny, man?
It's alright. Just, you paused after stripping Vegeta. I'm like, okay. Sorry. Junior high brain.
Speaking of uncircumcised. So,
You're going to edit this, right?
Only if I have to.
So then hold on, man, damn it.
Sorry, my junior high brain distracted Zach.
I hope everyone at home is having as much fun listening.
Actually, I don't know if junior high boys are making jokes about stripping, but they might be.
So
I wouldn't know. I was a very sheltered junior high boy.
We did.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That was private school.
Anyway.
We're killing Zach over here.
We have totally thrown him off. I don't remember where you were either, so...
yeah, I'm getting there. So anyway, so take Vegeta again. So his identity was built in being Frieza's lackey. Then Goku freed him from that. He resented Goku from that. Then he wanted to resume his rightful place as the Saiyan Prince. But he couldn't because there's no Saiyans left. And the ones that are stronger than him. So continually his identity keeps building up, keeps falling. So then, after Goku's gone and dead, Vegeta trains. Because one day he's going to die, and he's going to go to the afterlife, and he's going to face Goku again. So, after a time period, I don't remember what it was. Could have been 6, could have been 8 years. I can't remember. It gets announced that Goku gets come back for one day. And so they decide to hold you've been gone for 6 years. You come back. I mean, if it was me, I'd be like, no offense, guys, but like, I'm gonna need some time with my wife behind some locked doors. So, but that's not what Goku wanted to do. He decided instead to hold a world martial arts tournament.
That's interesting marriage. I don't even know how he has 2 kids.
Well, yeah.
But we derailed you enough.
Yeah, so Vegeta now sees it as an opportunity to confront his rival and fight him and see who's stronger after all these years. And it's built up that Goku and Vegeta's gonna fight in the finals. But then, like, people get involved, some bad guys get involved. Ultimately, a wizard comes in, starts taking people's minds over and enslaving them for his purpose.
Darn those wizards.
Yeah, them fucking wizards. And it's kind of funny, this is Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. It's, anyway.
But Bobbity's the wizard's name, right?
Yeah.
And he said, was his dad's name was Bibbidi?
Yeah, and they're trying to resurrect a guy named Boo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. I don't remember what that's from, but...
I don't know.
Bibbidi Bobbidi.
I don't know, probably something in the demon.
Some kind of
Magic
children's
word.
song, which... Yeah, children's songs were weird sometimes. Like babies falling out of trees.
Ashes
will fall down and shit like that. Yeah. Lullabies, am I right?
Yeah, so all that was built up to what happens in this episode. So they're fighting the evil wizard, and the wizard takes the darkness inside of people and manipulates it against them to take over their mind. Well, Vegeta has all this darkness from when he was a slave to Frieza, but he's trapped it in his mind. I'd say Vegeta's like 87% good at this point. There's still at 13% that's like still in there.
It's very specific.
I just, I've given it a lot of thought. Some scientific experiments.
Yeah, he did,
Exactly, mathematician.
he did his math, and like it's like okay, he did this, he said this, that's 10 points off. That's it.
Yeah, there you go. See,
Yeah.
he gets it.
87%.
So he, but this wizard interfering with everything fucks everything up for Vegeta. So he decides he's gonna give in to the wizard's mind control, right? Just for the sake of being able to fight Goku. So he does, and then the wizard taps in all the bad, and so Vegeta gives into the bad just enough to where the wizard can push more bad. So Vegeta kills a bunch of people in a massive explosion that wrecks like an eighth of the arena. And just to show that he wasn't playing around, he did it again, narrowly missing his own family and Goku's family, which infuriates Goku. And Goku transforms to Super Saiyan and says, "Alright, motherfucker, you want to play? Fuck around and find out." So Vegeta said, "Alright, I'm gonna fuck around and find out." So Goku says, transport us somewhere else, and then the Supreme Kai jumps in and says, "No, Goku," which is like the god of their universe. Like he's the ultimate authority on like life and death. And he steps between Goku and Vegeta. And the only time in the entire series where like Goku like isn't the righteous hero, he puts his hand up and is about to assault the Supreme Kai. To the point the Supreme Kai's like, "Oh shit, I don't want no smoke."
It's like he means it.
Yeah, so he backs down, and Goku and Vegeta are transported somewhere else for them to settle their feud. And the Kai says something like, "The universe is more important than this meaningless scuffle between you two." And Vegeta loses it. He's meaningless. My pain, Vegeta took everything personally, as an 8 should, right? Meaningless. My pride is not meaningless. And Goku, or Kakarot as he calls him, has trampled that pride over and over and over again. And I'm not going to take it anymore.
Was he saying never loses his pride?
Yeah. So Babidi tries to...
Super Saiyan.
Yeah, so Babidi tries to convince Vegeta to kill the Supreme Kai, and Vegeta says, "No, I got no quarrel with the Supreme Kai. My issue is Goku. So fuck you, you're not controlling my mind. I used you to get to where I'm at." Now you gotta think, Babidi's magic's pretty strong. I mean, Deborah, who's literally advertised as Lucifer, the king of hell, is under Babidi's magic spell.
Now, for one thing, Babidi's the only character that can actually move his fingers, too.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, we were talking earlier. The
Yeah.
animators didn't want to bother to animate fingers, so everybody always says their fists clenched,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's hard to draw
So,
fingers.
Babidi is so powerful that he's able to actually move his fingers.
The only fingers you see moving the whole episode.
I didn't
It's
notice
true, it's true.
that. That's
It's
not
true.
what I picked up. I should, as a cartoonist, I feel ashamed that I didn't see that.
It's not the only episode.
You also notice that whenever not whenever, but like half the time when people are talking, it just shows their back or it shows the other character, so they don't have to animate the mouth.
Well, that's because it goes through multiple different versions. So like, there's my gosh, what is wrong with you? But there's like the English dub, English sub, the Japanese OG. Then there was like a weird like abridged version that came out for a while, where they kind of broke it down and it's like doing it fast, where they cut out random things. Yeah, Kai.
Yeah.
So. So they shorten the episodes or like combine 2 episodes together by like shortening those like gaps that you were talking about.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, they in the original I commented on that. Is like they don't have a problem with just like sitting with emotions and tension for long periods of time. It's like I feel like it took an entire episode for the characters to say things that in other cartoons would probably be set in like 5 minutes.
yeah.
Like, so it was like build up, show his face like pulsating. What is it? Well, do you know like why does anime do that? Like, what's up with the pulsating face? We're like, oh,
Well, I don't really know the origins of that. I don't know if like it came from the influence of Osamu Tezuka or where that came from. I just know that seems to be the stereotype in manga to show bulging veins when a character gets upset. It must be cultural or something.
I get. I mean, obviously, no one's face can actually do that, so it's like an exaggeration. But like, it's interesting that a lot
Do
of
you know
anime
that?
does that.
No, but I have a great idea.
Yeah. What's your idea?
Hey, YouTubers, here's a homework assignment for you.
Yeah.
In the comments below, please
Yeah.
tell us why they do that.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a nerd out there somewhere that knows the answer to that. These three do not.
Yeah. I'm a nerd. I'm a hell of a nerd, but I don't know the answer to that question.
He's a nerd that wants to fight the other nerds.
Vegeta.
No,
So, what did you think of the episode? I guess you were just talking about that, weren't you?
Yeah.
I wanted to know though.
It's your first ever episode of Dragon Ball Z.
That's right. Yeah. Like, even though we talked about the series, I had not watched any the first time that we talked.
Yep. And Dragon Ball GT episode 1 does not count.
Well, my first exposure to Dragon Ball at all was the movie that you and I went to
Oh,
see
good.
and reviewed
Does it look
back in
really
the fall.
sad if GT was your first introduction?
No, yeah, I've not seen any GT. But yeah, this was my
you
first.
saw the first episode.
I did.
And you were complaining about
Wait.
how boring it was and then who was Master Roshi.
Wait.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway, okay, so maybe
He
I'm wrong.
blocked it from his memory, ladies
It
and
was that
gentlemen.
bad.
It was that bad.
Dragon Ball GT has a rough start. It gets there.
I honestly don't remember that. That's funny. But anyway, so this is my first episode of Dragon Ball Z, and I will say between the two that we watched, I liked episode 86 better than this first one. But I think part of that's because I'm kind of jumping in at episode 229, so I'm not privy to any of the other than what you guys have shared with me, the build up between the characters, the subtext that's going on. So for me, it wasn't as interesting because it's just a lot of silence and them staring at one another and like Vegeta going, "Grr," and so that wasn't as interesting. But there's more dialogue and more cutscenes and stuff, more flashbacks in the other episodes. So I found that one more interesting, purely from just examining it as an episode in its own right. But I imagine if I had watched 228 episodes prior to 229, it would have had a lot more weight.
Yeah, I think episode 86, you see both episodes are Vegeta at his most vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
In the whole series, in my opinion. Maybe you could say the episode where he blows himself up. He's pretty vulnerable then, but you don't really see all of Vegeta when he blows himself up. You get.
You only see pieces of it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I mean, so like.
A piece of him over there, a piece of him over here.
So flash forward. So Vegeta and Goku fight. Vegeta cheap shots Goku, and then he goes to try to fight Majin Buu by himself. He can't beat him because Majin Buu regenerates. So he decides to try to blow.
So Majin Buu is the Wolverine of Dragon Ball.
Well, if Wolverine was a piece of bubblegum.
This is true words.
So he decides to try to blow himself up in a massive radius in order to try to kill every cell. But it didn't work ultimately. But there's a really interesting monologue Vegeta has where he talks about how he can't believe he was searching for his identity, and he even took a son and an Earth woman as a wife, and and all these things were things that ultimately humbled him, but he doesn't speak of it in a sense of humbling. He speaks of it in a sense of almost thankfulness. And he needed to see if it was real, and that's why he decided to fight Goku and sacrifice all those people. He knew he could bring them back with the Dragon Balls. So he kills those people, and he goes bad for a second because he knows it can all be fixed. It sucks. It'd be traumatic for those people who just died. But he's like, it can be fixed. I need this right now. I need to make sure that I'm not that bad guy. And so he delivers the ultimate sacrifice and blows himself up to kill Majin Buu. There's really interesting dialogue, and he very touching moment with him and his son. But the reason why that episode is my favorite is because knowing everything that led to him, it's such a shock with Vegeta and Goku. I mean, I feel like the show is watched through Gohan's eyes. I feel like if any member of the Z team or Z squad or whatever you call it was the eyes that the audience is watching through is Gohan's, because he's in every story, and he's in every fight. He's either a spectator or a combatant.
Yeah, and in this one, now you mentioned that, like, for most of it, he's like, "What's going on?" You know, that look on his face of like, "Dad, what are you doing? Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
He was like, "What?" So yeah, so he was like shocked, I guess, from both sides. Yeah.
Speaking of which, your first introduction to Dragon Ball was the theatrical movie Superheroes. How do you feel going back in time and seeing Gohan as a kid? Was that jarring?
Oh, like the one we watched, 86. He didn't feature very prominently in that episode, so I didn't get a big taste of him necessarily. But seeing him, I guess, as a teenager, more or less, in 229, like, he's definitely he's younger self, like
in 229.
yeah, like 17, 18. It didn't seem, I didn't seem jarring, like, but again, like, that's probably part of that's probably because he didn't feature as prominently in the other one we watched when he was like, what, 6 or 7 or something.
7, between 6 and 8.
Yeah. Other than just like facial reactions, like, I mean, he was in it a lot, but like, he didn't say much. He was just kind of reacting to the dialogue and the fights with Frieza and which maybe that's a good transition to the other episode, because we don't want to spend our entire podcast talking about just the one. So episode 86, the End of Vegeta. If you guys can share what's meaningful about that episode.
I actually have a question for you, though.
I have a question for you.
Well, let me catch on first. Gotta talk about
Okay.
so, like, the End of Vegeta is one of my favorite episodes. The monologue he delivers is great, but is it on your top 10?
I'm not really sure. I mean, for me, Dragon Ball Z, the most memorable story arcs are the Saiyan and Frieza saga, and the Android saga. I think for me, the Android saga is my favorite somehow. But yeah, I mean, Vegeta continually being shocked by Goku surpassing him and just showing him up. That's pretty big stuff. It's pretty important to the series.
Yeah. But, like, that episode where Vegeta details to Goku what happened to the Saiyan race and what made Vegeta a bad guy.
Oh yeah, that was a good episode.
Yeah. So you
The
put
big
it, like,
reveal.
you put it in your top 10.
Yeah, I would. The big reveal
so-
that Frieza destroyed the planet.
So that was the first time in the series that anyone knew about that.
No, we had known because
It's the first time Goku.
Frieza had mentioned it earlier.
well, Frieza had mentioned it, but I think the Ginyu Force had mentioned it early on, but we didn't see a flashback.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you see Goku's dad getting killed as well.
Yeah, they
by
did a
Frieza.
TV. So as when we were kids, it was like they started Saiyan Saga, they went through the End of Frieza Saga, and then they started over, and then did it again all the way through the end of Majin Buu Saga, which is the end of DBC. So we saw all the way to the end where the Namekians get wished back and go back to their planet, and it's like, and everybody lived happily ever after. Until. And then it started over. So we got to see it twice
Like
before we saw the progression.
syndication or like legit, like the storyline repeated.
Repeated.
So it was new episodes, but it was repeating the cycle.
No, it was the same episode.
Okay, so
over.
so it's syndication. So
Yeah.
it went into syndication before they started making new episodes later.
Sorry, I never heard that word before.
Syndication means like after something's already aired, live the first time, then it continues to play on TV stations or whatever, like back in the day. So it would go into syndication, like.
All I know is every
Typically
day
after
at
a
5
series is
p.m.
finished.
it played.
Yeah.
And it played through to the end of the Namekian saga right there when Frieza dies. And then it started all the way back over with Raditz and then played through all the way down to Majin Buu. So we didn't see Vegeta go Super Saiyan until we were so invested as kids. So
Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah.
we didn't think anybody could go Super Saiyan. So when Trunks shows up, it's like, there's another fucking Super Saiyan. What
Yeah.
the fuck?
I remember that.
So like, it was a complete I mean, the way they did it was, I mean, very well done.
And then Broly.
Yeah, they came out with the Broly movie right
Yeah.
after that happened.
That's not canon anymore, or maybe it never was, but still, it was shocking.
Yeah.
There's another Super Saiyan.
Yeah. So the going back to episode 86. So there was but the second time they ran through the series, they stopped right before that, and they released something called the TV special.
Right. Are you talking about Bardock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second time they played it through, we understood what's going on, who this guy is. Because the first time they played it through, it's like, oh, this guy looks like Goku's getting killed by a big bomb. We don't really know what it is. But the second time we played it through, we saw the TV special. There was like 3 episodes or whatever of Bardock and his life and Goku and how he got to Earth as a child. So it was so much more meaningful because we know how the story ends, but now they're adding more details. So as a kid, you're like, oh, you get to peek behind the curtain, and there is actually a wizard there. It's not just some dude in a jumpsuit.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like, to put in a Star Wars reference here, when they did the Rogue One movie,
Mm-hmm.
you got so much backstory to just that one little line that like many lives were lost getting these plans.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
and it's like they make a whole movie out of that.
Yes.
Basically.
So like you saw when we watched episode 86, you saw Bardock and you saw what happened. But that's all we saw. It doesn't mention his name. It doesn't mention anything about him.
Yeah.
So like when you watch through the second time, you're so emotionally invested in all these characters. Like Krillin's voice changes, you realize that. Like a bunch of things. His voice actor changed.
Oh, I was gonna say he grew a little older. Deepened. Went
Yeah.
through his version of puberty.
It's not quite as nasally as he progressed, but like
I think does he say anything in that episode? I remember him going like, oh
Yeah.
yeah. No, I don't think so.
A lot of facial expressions. But
Krillin's got some interesting shoes. Anyway, so
Piccolo does talk a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah, he talks a little bit, but not much.
I'd like to argue that Piccolo's had a little bit of character development,
Well, yeah, and, I mean,
but they didn't
I don't know if you
explain it
I don't know
very
if you
much.
consider this canon or not, but the movie you and I watched, like,
Yeah.
Piccolo featured it actually quite significantly in that movie.
you mean Gohan's dad?
Well, you put it that way.
No, he's actually very prominent. Might be fair to say he's the main character of that movie, like Piccolo. Definitely on the good side.
Mhm.
Like, but that's like jumping forward 20 years.
Yeah. So there's when they came out with Dragon Ball Super, I didn't know how to get to it because I wasn't savvy enough to understand all the back channels of watching stuff online for free, like Kiss Anime. But now, like, so I would just watch the reviews of people telling what was happening in Dragon Ball Super. And there's this YouTuber, I can't remember his name, this was 2017, 2018, something like that, who was telling the story of Dragon Ball Super, and Piccolo was Gohan's daddy. That's how he called him. So yeah, Gohan and his daddy, they fought these other dudes, and Gohan's daddy was doing this, and Gohan's daddy was doing that. It was just like, it's so funny, like, because,
Is he kind of like does he raise Gohan almost more than Goku does, or is more involved in his life?
yes.
So he's the father figure, but not necessarily the biological.
I mean, so like,
father.
let's just go through Gohan's life. Gohan has his dad for the first 5 years.
Uh-huh.
Then his dad dies. For a year, is in heaven, right? During that year, Gohan trains with Piccolo,
Mm-hmm.
right? So from 5 to 6 years old, he's Piccolo's bitch, right? And Piccolo beats the shit out of him until Gohan emerges a warrior, right? Then Goku shows up for 20 minutes and thrashes Vegeta, then gets thrashed back by Vegeta, and Goku goes to the hospital. And then Gohan and Krillin go to Namek with Bulma, a 6-year-old, and Goku's best friend is probably like 23 at the time, maybe 25. They go to Namek, and Goku's in the hospital. Then while Gohan's on Namek, he gets his shit beat out, gets his neck broke by Raccoon, which is, in my opinion, still the most brutal scene in Dragon Ball Z history. And then Goku shows up just in time to wreck the Ginyu Force, and then switch bodies with Captain Ginyu, get his body wrecked by Vegeta, then switches back, gets his regular body back, then goes in the healing tank. Gohan's now got nobody but Piccolo. So he wishes Piccolo back to life, then wishes Piccolo to come to Namek, and now it's Gohan and Piccolo and Krillin and Vegeta versus Frieza. So they fight for a while, like 20 episodes, which is probably like 5 minutes in real life. And, as Frieza's killing Vegeta, Goku shows up again. Goku fights Frieza, right? Then in the middle of the fight, the Namekian Dragon Balls, they wish everybody but Goku and Frieza back to Earth. So Gohan's there with Piccolo. Goku, after fighting Frieza, beats him and then travels the universe learning new fighting techniques for an entire 3 years or something like that. I can't remember. During that time, the only person who Gohan has is Piccolo, right? So, then when Goku finally shows back up,
So Piccolo is Gohan's Alfred, almost.
yes. So
With the exception of the Waynes are not dead.
yeah. So
Although Goku's sort of dead and then comes back.
Except
and is sort of
Alfred-
dead and then comes
well,
back.
the story